When the world shifts under your feet, what keeps you grounded? The Stoics would say, your principles. When politics inflame, markets crash, relationships fray, and the noise of the world grows louder, a Stoic grows quieter. Not out of indifference, but out of discipline. The world will always change. That is not a threat, it is a promise. What matters is whether you remain. We are told to adapt, to keep up, to reinvent ourselves endlessly in the face of trends and turmoil. But the Stoics taught something different. They taught the power of standing firm, not in arrogance, but in clarity. The Stoic does not resist change. He endures it. He does not panic in uncertainty. He prepares for it. And when the tides rise, he becomes the lighthouse, not the driftwood. To live as a Stoic is not to be unmoved, but to be unmoving in what matters: your values, your virtue, your vision. These are not relics to be dusted off when convenient. They are the compass in the storm. In a world spinning ever faster, the Stoic walks steadily. And that in itself is a revolution. This video is not a retreat into ancient thought. It is a return to timeless strength. The world will continue to shift, but the Stoic, the true Stoic, will remain unshaken, because he has released what does not matter. And in doing so, he has found what cannot be taken. Let us walk through the Stoic mind. Let us train for the chaos that comes. Let us build a foundation that no fire, no flood, no failure can ruin. The world will change, but you can remain. Chapter 1. Anchored in principle, not in circumstance. The Stoics believed that no external circumstance has the power to make or unmake a man. Only his judgments can do that. This is the anchor. This is the line drawn in the sand. When Marcus Aurelius governed an empire riddled with disease and betrayal, he did not wish for easier conditions. He refined his clarity. When Epictetus was born into slavery, he did not curse fate. He trained his mind. When Seneca was exiled, he did not wither. He wrote, and in writing he endured. To be anchored in principle is to stop allowing your environment to dictate your character. You do not become bitter because people lie. You remain honest. You do not grow cruel because the world is harsh. You remain kind. You do not act with panic because the market is volatile. You remain calm. You are not pulled into despair because others collapse. You hold your posture. You do not mirror the madness of the world. You reflect your values. You build your stance from within, not from the surrounding noise. That foundation must be so solid that no opinion, insult, or disaster can breach it. Like a fortress built on bedrock, your integrity must not be subject to the erosion of circumstance. The noise of life seduces you to abandon your inner post. It offers 1,000 justifications for losing your patience, your clarity, your grace. It tells you that your anger is righteous, your jealousy understandable, your cynicism mature. But the Stoic knows that what feels justified is not always what is wise. Wisdom does not chase approval. It does not argue with noise. It listens, evaluates, and then acts. The world will present provocations, setbacks, and distractions. Your role is not to eliminate these trials, but to transcend them by responding with strength, not surrender. We all feel the pull of the world's chaos. It demands our reaction. It invites our outrage. It tempts us to answer every insult, chase every slight, and correct every misconception. It wants you tangled in drama, lost in comparison, and drowned in opinions. It thrives on your distraction, your emotional volatility, your lack of stillness. It thrives when your energy is poured into what is irrelevant, what is temporary, and what does not feed your soul. But outrage is not power. Reaction is not wisdom. The Stoic says, I will act, not react. I will lead my thoughts. I will not be led by them. I will govern my attention like a king guards a kingdom. I will choose the weight of virtue over the thrill of vengeance. I will live by what is timeless, not by what is trending. I will put down what does not belong to me and carry only what is mine to carry, my reason, my choices, my soul. I will protect the sanctity of my focus as fiercely as others protect their pride. I will not allow the winds of popular opinion to blow me from the course I have set for myself. We live in a time where distraction is an epidemic. Every beep, every scroll, every headline is a subtle test of your discipline. The Stoic does not merely resist chaos, he ignores the bait. He refuses to be consumed by the loudest voices. He watches the crowd stampede and yet walks a deliberate pace. This is not detachment from the world. It is mastery over its pull. His emotions do not sit in the driver's seat. His clarity does. And clarity, born of virtue, does not chase the ever-changing moods of society. It roots itself in principle, in character, in restraint. In your own life, the world has shifted many times. You have lost things. People have left. Opportunities have vanished. Stability has cracked and certainty has disappeared. Storms have rolled in without warning, and you have stood in them, often without shelter. You have questioned your strength. You have doubted your direction. And yet, you are still here. That is not luck. That is proof. Proof of endurance. Proof of resilience. Proof that within you exists something stronger than circumstance. Every scar you carry is evidence that you did not give up. Every doubt you silenced with discipline is a victory. You already know how to survive change. The Stoic shows you how to transcend it, not by avoiding storms, but by becoming unshakable within them. Not by avoiding discomfort, but by aligning so closely with principle that no discomfort can distract you from it. The Stoic does not pray for the sea to calm. He trains to hold the wheel steady. He builds his character like a vessel that can survive any ocean, any gale, any tide. And that is how you endure. That is how you rise. That is how you become immovable in a world that never stays still. Each morning, remind yourself, what is in my control? What is not? Write it down. Carry that clarity into your decisions. Be specific. Don't just reflect internally. Externalize it. Take pen to paper and commit your thoughts to form. When your thoughts remain abstract, they remain tangled. But when you write them out, you take ownership. Notice how often your energy is spent on things outside your influence, the opinions of others, the outcomes of events, the passage of time. The Stoic separates himself from this noise each morning not by accident, but by ritual. He makes it a habit, a form of mental hygiene. The more consistently you perform this inventory, the more effortlessly you begin to move through the world with clarity. You will recognize distractions as they appear. You will detect emotional traps before they spring. Watch how your anxiety shrinks when your focus sharpens. The mind, when it learns to distinguish between what belongs to it and what does not, becomes less chaotic. Clarity emerges not as a gift, but as a product of disciplined attention. You will find your breathing steadier, your language more measured, your choices less impulsive. You will begin to respond to life with an intentional pause, a breath that separates reaction from reflection. That pause is power. That pause is sovereignty. The Stoic builds a fortress not from stone, but from discernment. Every act of restraint, every moment of silence, every refusal to be provoked is another stone laid in the foundation. His protection is not built outwardly, but inwardly. He becomes a citadel of reason in a world ruled by impulse. He practices the art of turning inward, of clarifying his motives, of returning again and again to what he truly controls, his judgment, his effort, his perception. This is how the Stoic creates stability, by refusing to give away control of his soul and by reclaiming it each day with quiet, disciplined intention. The world may lurch from crisis to crisis, but his steps remain measured. He does not need to silence the chaos. He needs only to not let it speak louder than his conscience. Every day, he makes the choice to return to this posture, not once, but repeatedly. And through this repetition, through this returning, he becomes unshakable. Chapter 2. Training for Turbulence. The world doesn't warn you, it just shifts. One phone call and everything changes. One betrayal and your trust is tested. One illness and your plans evaporate. One moment of silence can swallow months of effort. One sudden change can bend the spine of your certainty. The Stoics did not hope these things wouldn't happen. They prepared for them. They did not shield themselves with denial. They armed themselves with awareness. They understood that misfortune does not always knock. Sometimes it breaks the door down. Better to be alert than to be shattered by surprise. Better to live prepared than to live afraid. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, was not pessimism. It was rehearsal. Like soldiers sharpening their swords during peace, the Stoics trained their minds for hardship. They imagined loss, failure, humiliation, not to suffer twice, but to suffer less when it arrived. They ran drills in their mind so that when chaos struck, their character would not fracture. This mental preparation was not a grim fixation on pain. It was the cultivation of a steady soul in the face of inevitable change. They knew that pain loses its sharpness when anticipated with clarity. And when you learn to look hardship in the eye before it arrives, you don't freeze, you move. To prepare is not to invite pain. It is to build muscle against it. It is to rehearse courage before the trial. It is to say, when this comes, I will not be destroyed. I may feel it, but I will not be ruled by it. I may stagger, but I will not fall apart. It is the training of the will to meet life as it is, not as we wish it to be. And that training must be daily, intentional, and anchored in truth. No athlete wins by hoping to be strong. They win by building strength deliberately. So it is with the mind. You condition your clarity, you temper your reactions, you stretch your tolerance, and over time, you discover that the blow you feared most has already landed, quietly, in practice, under your control. Every day, you have the chance to train. When your food is cold, when traffic delays you, when someone speaks rudely, when your efforts go unrecognized, when your timing fails you. These are not interruptions. They are invitations to grow stronger. Life gives you small discomforts as practice for larger ones. Each annoyance is a weight you can lift. Each frustration, a moment to tighten your discipline. These moments are not accidents. They are appointments with your growth. If you only train when life is easy, you will collapse when life is not. If you only expect comfort, you will be broken by challenge. But if you treat each moment as an exercise in virtue, you become fit for reality. You won't just survive difficulty, you'll be familiar with it, you'll recognize it, and because you've trained for it, you'll know exactly who you are within it. Seneca advised, "He is most powerful who has power over himself, and you will not gain that power through wishful thinking. You will gain it through deliberate preparation, through repeating the mental rituals that sharpen your awareness and deepen your resilience, through confronting difficulty in imagination so that you may stand firm in reality. You gain it through deliberate discomfort, where each small friction teaches you something about your limits and about your capacity to go beyond them. This preparation is a daily act of remembering your inner resources. It is a quiet commitment to building a life that does not collapse when external structures do. To have power over yourself is to become fluent in your impulses, to see them as they arise, and to hold them, examine them, question their necessity. It is to know how to delay gratification, how to soften anger before it burns, how to look a fear in the face and choose action anyway. through understanding that your strength is not in avoiding adversity, but in building the inner frame that can carry it without breaking, you begin to walk differently. You begin to live less as a victim of circumstances and more as a student of them. You begin to see that your life is a series of opportunities to embody what you claim to value. That your principles are not just ideas, they are tools for endurance, armor for uncertainty, anchors for the soul. You will not be surprised by change because you have sat with it already. You have anticipated loss, and so your love is freer. You have pictured failure, and so your courage is stronger. You have felt the imaginary weight of pain, and so when real weight arrives, you do not collapse under it. You have tasted the loss before the feast. You have rehearsed calm before the chaos. And in that rehearsal, you have cultivated readiness. That is not fatalism, that is freedom. Because the prepared mind is the free mind, not because it controls everything, but because it no longer fears anything. Spend 5 minutes daily visualizing a potential challenge, the loss of something you rely on, the failure of a plan, the insult of a colleague. Then calmly imagine your response, not emotional collapse, but clarity. This is not dwelling, this is strengthening. Chapter 3. Stillness amid the storm. Stillness is not the absence of noise, it is the presence of clarity. In the Stoic mind, stillness is not passive, it is powerful. It is the quiet you choose while the world screams. Marcus Aurelius led armies, quelled uprisings, and mourned children, all while writing of inner peace. Why? Because stillness is not found in perfect conditions. It is forged in imperfect ones. The world trains you to be reactive. Every advertisement, every headline, every social platform is a trigger, pushing for immediacy, rewarding impulsiveness, punishing pause. But reaction is chaos in motion. It is not power, but a kind of programmed surrender. It is the untrained mind lunging at shadows. It is the hand flinching before thought arrives. It is the ego scrambling to defend itself before wisdom has even spoken. The Stoic steps back, observes, decides. He does not flinch. He watches, quietly, and then he chooses, not just what to do, but who to be. He creates distance between stimulus and response, and in that distance he finds power. That space is sacred. That space is where character lives. His calm is not weakness, it is weaponry. It is not the calm of indifference, it is the calm of focus, sharpened by clarity. It is the quiet presence of someone who does not need to prove anything because he knows what matters. It is a sword sheathed in silence. It gives him the space to act wisely when others are flailing. It allows him to choose deliberate action while the crowd chooses emotional noise. While others look for someone to blame, the Stoic looks inward for strength. Reaction is what the world wants from you. It sells urgency. It profits from your panic. It thrives on outrage. It wants you angry, distracted, emotionally intoxicated, because those states are easy to manipulate. But outrage burns fast and leaves you hollow. Panic scatters your focus and drains your clarity. It makes you loud, but not wise. Reaction might feel righteous in the moment, but it almost always regrets itself later. It doesn't solve, it escalates. It doesn't protect, it provokes. The Stoic understands this. He does not trade his peace for speed. He does not confuse movement with direction. He does not allow the drama of others to dictate the drama within himself. The modern world pushes urgency. Now faster, louder, answer the email, respond to the tweet, join the debate, pick a side, panic with the herd. But urgency is rarely clarity. The fastest voice is rarely the truest. The loudest voice is rarely the wisest. True wisdom often whispers. It sits in the quiet corners of thought and waits for you to turn down the volume of the world. Most of your best decisions come from silence, not from the roar of opinion, but from the still hum of awareness. The Stoics knew this. They returned again and again to solitude, reflection, and writing. They carved out silence not to escape the world, but to understand it more clearly. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of a vast empire, found his clearest voice not in public addresses, but in the privacy of his journal. He wrote to find himself beneath the noise. Stillness is not inaction. It is preparation. It is not laziness. It is precision. It is gathering all your faculties before engaging. It is the breath before the strike, the reflection before the decision, the silence before the truth. It is the pause that makes the next step sure. The reactive mind is a storm. The still mind is a compass. When you are reactive, you become the storm. You blur, you whirl, you spin without direction. When you are still, you guide through it. You do not lose yourself. You find your center and you hold it. In your own life, when were you most reactive, most panicked? Did it help? Or did it escalate what clarity could have calmed? Think of those moments. Did yelling resolve the issue? Did rushing fix the mistake? Or did it leave more damage to clean up later? How many apologies were born from unfiltered reaction? How many regrets came from words said too fast? Stillness does not delay action, it refines it. It cuts away the noise so the right action becomes visible. It helps you say the thing that needs to be said, not the thing your ego wants to scream. It helps you do the next right thing, not the next available thing. Stillness does not mean indifference. It means discipline. It is the decision to let your principles lead, not your pulse. Stillness allows you to see what others miss. It gives you room to breathe before you speak, space to think before you strike, grace to choose the high ground before you descend into impulse. In stillness, you recognize that you are not your emotion. You are its master. And when you master it, you begin to shape your life deliberately, not chaotically, not habitually, but with purpose. A still mind is not empty, it is focused. A still heart is not cold, it is strong. And a still soul is not passive, it is prepared. Build daily moments of stillness. Begin with 2 minutes. Sit, breathe. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Let them pass like clouds drifting across a vast sky. See them for what they are, temporary, untethered, and harmless if not clung to. In those few minutes, you reclaim your mind from the noise of the world. You remind yourself that clarity comes not from speed, but from stillness. Do this before hard conversations, big decisions, or even as the day begins, when your mind is most vulnerable to the pressures of the world. And as you grow stronger, lengthen the space between stimulus and response. This is not just a technique, it is a transformation. You begin to recognize that every moment is a fork in the road. You can react, or you can respond. You can follow your impulse, or you can follow your principle. Let silence become your strength, not just in speech, but in thought. Let pause become your practice, your posture, your shield. It will feel unnatural at first, but over time, it will become your nature. Stillness becomes the place where you remember what matters. It becomes the breath you take before you speak with intention. It becomes the moment you recall your values before you act with regret. This is how the Stoic creates silence within chaos, not as retreat, but as mastery. It is how he filters emotion through reason, how he tempers urgency with wisdom. Because when others react blindly, the Stoic responds wisely. And that difference, that pause, is where peace lives, where strength is forged, and where clarity is reclaimed. In that stillness, the Stoic finds not emptiness, but precision, not hesitation, but command. Chapter 4. Standing alone without being lonely. The Stoic is willing to be misunderstood. He is willing to walk alone if the path demands it. This is not isolation, this is strength. It is the kind of strength that comes from knowing that popularity is not the same as truth, and consensus is not the same as courage. To be alone is not to be abandoned, it is to be uncompromised. Too often, people dilute their values to avoid conflict. They soften their voice so they won't offend. They hide their truth to preserve harmony. But harmony without integrity is not peace. It is quiet tyranny. It is the cost of belonging at the price of the self. And the Stoic refuses it. He understands that false harmony creates internal war, that to go along with the crowd while betraying your convictions is not loyalty, it is self-erasure. To seek acceptance by amputating your truth is not love, it is surrender. This temptation is everywhere. In the workplace where silence is rewarded more than honesty. In friendships where masks are traded instead of truths. In society where going along is easier than standing alone. But the Stoic does not mold his character to fit the mood of the room. He shapes his life around principle, not popularity. He knows that peace built on self-denial is not peace at all. It is just a delay before collapse. To walk alone is not to reject others. It is to refuse betraying yourself. It is to hold the line even when no one stands beside you. It is to value your inner clarity more than outer comfort. Epictetus lived as a poor philosopher, stripped of status, mocked by those in power. But he had himself. That was enough. Because when your values are intact, you are never truly alone. You are accompanied by your conscience. You walk with your character. You walk with your God, your discipline, your soul. That is better company than any applause could offer. Applause fades, integrity echoes. There will be moments when the world laughs at your discipline, when they question your restraint, when your refusal to gossip, retaliate, or compromise makes you seem strange. Let it. Let them misunderstand. Let them misjudge. Let them speak. Your silence will teach louder. Do not explain your strength to the weak. Do not shrink your values so they can stretch theirs. Do not lower yourself to be seen by those who refuse to raise their eyes. Your job is not to convince, but to live, and your living, quiet, firm, unwavering, will be louder than any defense you could offer. Character doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself over time. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to understand yourself so deeply that others cannot shake you, to know your values so clearly that mockery does not move you, to build your internal world so well that no external world can collapse it. And when you walk alone, you will discover that solitude, when chosen with strength, is the birthplace of conviction. It is not a curse, it is a crucible. It is where you refine your truth away from distraction. It is the place where your voice is no longer drowned by others, where your decisions are no longer filtered through fear, where your steps begin to echo with clarity and authority. When you can walk alone and still walk straight, you will know what the Stoics knew, that the crowd is not the compass, that silence is not loneliness when it is filled with principle, that absence of applause is not the absence of worth, and that the path of the few is often the path of the strong. Not because they were chosen, but because they chose themselves. Each week, notice one moment when your values are tested in small social settings. It could be a conversation where gossip creeps in, a moment where silence feels safer than honesty, or a time when going along with the group would mean stepping away from your own truth. Choose to stand firm, not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. Let your presence speak what your words do not. Hold your boundaries with grace, not aggression. Say less, mean more. Speak with intentional weight, not to fill the air, but to hold your ground. Let your words carry the full force of your convictions. Understand that silence can be powerful when it is rooted in principle, not fear. The fewer words you use, the more they must count. And feel the strength that comes not from being accepted, but from being aligned. There is a unique, unshakable peace that comes from walking your values, even when others do not understand them. Let that peace guide you through discomfort. Let it remind you that temporary disapproval is a small price for lifelong integrity. The strength you feel is not loud, it is steady. It is the strength of someone who knows who they are and refuses to be anything less. Chapter 5. Losing without being lost. Loss is a part of life. The Stoics did not deny it. They embraced it as a teacher, not because it is painless, but because it is powerful. To lose is not to be broken. It is to be shown what you clung to too tightly. It is to have the illusion of control peeled back, and in its place, the truth revealed, that everything external is on loan. Relationships, careers, health, possessions, they are not yours. They are just yours for now. Seneca lost wealth, power, and position multiple times. He was betrayed, exiled, and condemned. Yet he wrote, "He is not poor who has little, but he who wants more." That is not comfort in defeat. That is command over desire. That is a man who has untied his identity from outcomes. A man who has learned that wanting is often the wound, not the cure. He did not measure his worth by what he held, but by how he held himself when it was taken. You cannot control what leaves. People will go. Fortunes will vanish. Time will slip through your fingers like sand. Some things will be taken suddenly, some slowly, some painfully, and some without warning. But you can control how you carry yourself through the departure. You can carry yourself with dignity, with stillness, with resolve. You can choose to mourn with open eyes instead of closed fists. The Stoic grieves, but he does not collapse. He mourns, but he does not abandon his reason. He allows himself to feel, but does not allow feeling to rule. He sheds tears when tears are called for, but he never sheds his principles. Emotion may visit, but it is not allowed to move in, because he knows that sorrow, when untempered, can grow into self-pity, and self-pity is a prison. You have lost, we all have, a person, a plan, a version of yourself. But the Stoic lesson is that you were never those things you lost. You were never the title, never the relationship, never the reputation or the routine. Those were garments. You are the soul beneath them. Your essence remains. Your virtue remains. Your clarity, if trained, will remain. What is essential in you cannot be taken. It can only be remembered. To lose without being lost is to remember that nothing external defines you. You are the still flame, not the flickering smoke. You are not the ashes of what left. You are the heat that remains. You are not the echo of what was. You are the voice that endures. You are not the crumbling structure. You are the foundation beneath it. And when everything falls away, you will discover what cannot be stripped. The gold that remains after the fire is not more than you. It is you. And that, the Stoics knew, is your true wealth. This is not mere philosophy. It is survival wisdom. It is the kind of wisdom you don't read to feel better, but to stand taller. When you lose someone you love, or something you thought defined you, there is a temptation to dissolve with it, to believe that part of your identity vanished in the absence. The mind whispers, "Without this, who am I?" And in that moment of grief, the temptation is not only to mourn, but to forget yourself entirely. But the Stoic teaches you to stand in that space of absence and see clearly. What left was not your core. What was taken was not your essence. What was lost was not you, but something borrowed. Your core cannot be lost. It does not rely on applause or validation or permanence. It does not rise and fall with status or attention. It does not crack under grief. It reveals itself through it. Your core is composed of your character, your principles, your reason. These cannot be taken. They can only be forgotten and then remembered again. When all else is stripped away, what remains is what is real. The Stoic knows this. He accepts pain, but he does not allow pain to define him. He welcomes the lesson of loss, not to suffer more, but to suffer less by seeing clearly. The more clearly you see, the more you realize that your peace was never in what you held, but in how you held it. Not in what you had, but in who you became in the having and the losing. Write a list of what you fear losing most. Be honest, brutally honest. Is it a person, a title, a reputation, a role you play for others, a story you've clung to about who you are, a future you imagined that now feels uncertain? Then ask, if I lost this, who would I become? Sit with that answer. Don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to reassure yourself with empty comfort. Let the discomfort speak. Let the imagined loss be a teacher. Let it show you what you're still gripping too tightly. Then bring it into the light of reason. Hold it in the flame of your clarity. Notice how fear transforms when you name it, confront it, and place it in the hands of reason. You will begin to feel your grip relax, not because you no longer care, but because you have remembered your strength. The less you cling, the freer you become. And in that freedom, you rediscover the strength that was never lost, only hidden beneath your attachments. Strength that was not dependent on anything outside of you. Strength that remains even when nothing else does. That is what the Stoics practiced, the art of remembering what cannot be taken, the discipline of building your house not on the sand of circumstance, but on the stone of self-command. And when the winds of loss come, and they will, you may bend, but you will not break. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Emotional Sovereignty. Emotions are not enemies, but left untrained, they become tyrants. The Stoic does not deny emotion, he disciplines it. He does not try to silence the heart, he teaches it to speak a nobler language. He does not suppress feeling, but he filters it through reason. This is not coldness, this is command. To be ruled by emotion is to surrender your mind to the storm. One insult, and your day is ruined. One disappointment, and your confidence collapses. One rejection, and your entire identity is in question. The Stoic breaks this pattern. He separates feeling from judgment. He trains himself to say, "This is how I feel, but what is true?" He does not let the mood of the moment write the story of the self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That power begins with emotional clarity. You may feel anger, you may feel sadness, you may feel fear, but you are not anger, you are not sadness, you are not fear. You are the one who notices these emotions, and if you can notice them, you can navigate them. The undisciplined mind reacts, the disciplined mind reflects. The Stoic does not lash out in pain. He looks inward and asks, is this feeling rooted in fact or ego? Is it leading me toward wisdom or away from it? Will acting on this help me or haunt me? In asking these questions, he breaks the chain between emotion and impulse. He reclaims his choice. You will be tested. People will offend you. Expectations will go unmet. Promises will be broken. Praise will turn to criticism. And sometimes, without warning, those you trusted will disappoint you. But every emotional storm is an invitation to mastery, not just to endure, but to engage the moment with awareness and discipline, to stand firm in the winds of frustration and choose stillness when chaos invites retaliation, to feel the flame of rage rise in your chest and choose not to feed it with words or actions, but to contain it with understanding, to be the eye in the storm, not another gust in the wind. This choice, to pause instead of pounce, to reflect instead of react, is what separates the impulsive from the intentional. It is a different kind of courage, not to strike when wounded, but to remain calm and clear. It is to resist the ego's plea for vengeance and choose instead the soul's path of restraint. This is not weakness, it is will. It is power directed inward, not outward. It is what the Stoics trained for, to remain the same whether praised or insulted, lifted up or let down, because true strength is not the absence of feeling, but the refusal to be ruled by it. This week, catch one emotion as it arises. Don't suppress it, don't indulge it. Just pause, name it. Then ask yourself, what is this emotion asking of me? What would virtue ask instead? In that moment, you are no longer a prisoner to your feelings. You are their teacher, and in teaching them, you become free. Chapter 7. The Power of Inner Approval. The world offers applause, but it also offers judgment. It gives validation, but it can just as quickly give rejection. If your worth is tied to public opinion, your peace will rise and fall with the mood of the crowd. The Stoic seeks something deeper, the approval of the self, not the ego, the self, that quiet knowing that you lived with intention, aligned with values, and acted with integrity. The Stoic does not outsource his worth. He does not hand his self-esteem over to strangers, trends, or fickle crowds. He knows that public recognition is fleeting. What matters is not what they say about you when you're present, but what you know about yourself when you're alone. Praise does not make him arrogant. Criticism does not make him crumble, because his compass is internal, not external. To live by inner approval is not to be blind to feedback. The Stoic welcomes correction, but he filters it through reason. He does not let praise inflate his head or insults invade his heart. He evaluates every opinion, but only accepts what aligns with truth. This is how he stays grounded when others are floating on flattery or drowning in doubt. In a world obsessed with image, the Stoic focuses on essence. While others polish their performance, he refines his purpose. He may go unnoticed, he may be misunderstood, but he is not moved, because he has already chosen who he wants to be, and that choice is not up for auction. He is not performing for applause, he is practicing virtue. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I act in line with my values? Did I live today as the person I want to become? If yes, then let that be enough. If no, adjust. But do not wait for the world to validate your effort. The Stoic knows that the deepest peace comes not from being seen, but from being whole. Chapter 8. The Stoic Strength in Uncertainty. Uncertainty is the great equalizer. It visits kings and commoners alike. No plan, no power, no possession can insulate you from the unknown. It humbles the arrogant and sobers the naive. Yet while most fear uncertainty, the Stoic prepares for it. He does not wish it away. He does not curse the darkness. He builds himself to walk through it, torch in hand. For the Stoic, uncertainty is not a threat, it is a forge. The world will not hand you guarantees. Markets shift, people change, storms arrive without warning. Plans fall apart in moments. What was once firm ground becomes unfamiliar terrain. Expectations that felt secure become illusions, and what felt unshakable can collapse in a single day. To live well is not to control all outcomes, but to control your posture when outcomes are unclear. This is the Stoic's practice. He does not beg the universe for stability. He becomes stable. He does not look for security in events, but cultivates security in himself. The Stoic embraces this truth. He stands where others stumble because he does not lean on certainty. He leans on character. He knows that to tie his peace to predictions is to live in constant tension, so he unties the knot. He understands that expectation is a fragile god, and that real strength is measured not by prediction, but by preparation. When life is unclear, The weak demand answers. They search the skies for signs, beg the future for a glimpse of what's ahead, and panic in the absence of guarantees. They grasp for signs, rush into reaction, and exhaust themselves in speculation. They need to know because they have not prepared to not know. But the Stoic asks better questions. What is in my power? What virtues can I uphold in this fog? What kind of person can I be while the world shifts? His questions are not about conditions, but about character. He understands that clarity is a gift, but composure is a choice. He does not wait for conditions to improve. He improves his response to the conditions. He does not chase certainty. He becomes stability in its absence. His confidence is not in the forecast. It is in his footing. He becomes the fixed point in a spinning world. In uncertainty, many grasp for control. They overthink, overplan, overextend. They draw elaborate maps for terrain they have never walked. They script the future to soothe their fear of the unknown, only to fall apart when the script is ignored by life. They busy themselves with what-ifs and lose themselves in imagined disasters. But the Stoic narrows his focus. He simplifies. He returns to the fundamentals: patience, courage, discipline. He brings his attention back to what is within his grasp: his thoughts, his choices, his values. He sharpens his vision not outward, but inward. He stops chasing the storm and starts strengthening the shelter. He reminds himself that no external chaos can unravel an internal calm that has been trained. He lets go of the need to know and replaces it with the need to endure. He understands that reality doesn't demand omniscience. It demands presence. He learns that presence is more powerful than prediction. And in the quiet center of his own stillness, he becomes stronger than the storm, not because the storm is smaller, but because he has grown deeper roots. Next time you feel uncertainty creep in, resist the urge to predict. Instead, prepare. Do not waste your energy trying to outguess the future. Invest it in strengthening your present. Anchor yourself in action, not assumption. Do the small things you can control with excellence. Choose clarity over complexity. Return to your breath, your routine, your principles. These are your tools. Say to yourself, I don't need to know what happens next. I only need to know who I will be no matter what happens. Say it when fear rises. Say it when plans unravel. Say it when silence falls where certainty used to live. This is the mindset that moves through storms with steady eyes, not because it sees through the storm, but because it sees through itself. It knows that when the world is unstable, self-mastery becomes your anchor. It knows that presence is not passivity, it is power under control. Train yourself to return here. Let this become your ritual. When the unknown arrives, you meet it not with panic, but with presence. You let go of needing guarantees. You hold on to your groundedness. You remind yourself that while you cannot predict the terrain, you can prepare your steps. This is how the Stoic walks through uncertainty, not because he sees the end, but because he sees his next step and takes it with resolve. Chapter 9. The Strength to Endure Without Recognition. To endure quietly is one of the highest forms of strength. The Stoic does not demand to be seen in his suffering. He does not advertise his restraint. He does not decorate his discipline for applause. His virtue is not a performance, it is a practice. His commitment is not conditional upon recognition. It is rooted in who he chooses to be, regardless of who is watching. The Stoic knows that to endure without display is to draw strength from within, not from admiration. In a world obsessed with showcasing, with documenting every step and publicizing every hardship, silent endurance becomes a radical act. The modern world is loud with validation. Every effort is uploaded, every milestone announced, every act of virtue broadcast for approval. In this climate, doing good in silence becomes rebellion. Integrity becomes resistance. The Stoic does not move with the currents of attention. He moves with the weight of principle. He acts not to be admired, but because the action itself is just. He doesn't seek eyes, he seeks alignment. His reward is not applause. His reward is the quiet confidence of living by what is true. In a world that rewards display, the Stoic remains invisible by choice. He does not cry out for validation. He does not seek medals for maintaining his peace. He does not interrupt his focus to check who's watching. He remains loyal to what is right even when no one else notices, and perhaps especially then. The Stoic works on himself without an audience. He does what is right even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that is when character is real. That is when virtue proves itself. Character is not forged in praise. It is forged in solitude, in obscurity, in resistance to shortcuts when no one would know you took them. It is built in those private moments when no one is applauding and you choose the higher road anyway. This is the kind of strength the world rarely praises, because it is the kind that leaves no spectacle behind. It's not loud, it's not celebrated, but it is lasting. It is the quiet, consistent effort to stay aligned with principle in the face of fatigue, disrespect, or neglect. It is waking up again to do the right thing, even when the wrong thing would be easier and more rewarded. It is to keep showing up for your values when the world stops showing up for you. It is the refusal to let discouragement disrupt discipline. This kind of strength does not expire when praise fades. It deepens with every silent act of commitment. Seneca reminded us, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." And yet, the polishing is often done in the dark, in the late hours, the silent moments, the invisible grind, where no hand claps, where no eye watches, where no headlines are written. The Stoic embraces this. He understands that the deepest transformation is internal and often unseen. He is not discouraged by the absence of recognition. He is focused on the presence of growth. He is less interested in how things appear and more interested in what they build. He sees each quiet act of perseverance as a declaration, not to others, but to himself. I am still becoming. I am still choosing the better path. I am walking my own way, even if no one else ever sees it. Think of one area in your life where you are waiting to be acknowledged. Then ask yourself, would I still choose this path if no one ever saw it? Would I still do this work, live by this principle, pursue this effort if the world never clapped, never noticed, never celebrated? If the answer is yes, you are walking with integrity. Let that be your reward. Let that be your peace. The applause of others is fleeting. The respect you earn from yourself is forever. Because the work you do in the dark builds a light that no one can take from you. And when you carry that light, you don't need the world to see it. You only need to never let it go out. Chapter 10. The Stoic end is just the beginning. Every journey ends. Every chapter closes. Even the longest path has a final step. But for the Stoic, the end is never truly the end. It is transformation. It is evolution. It is the handoff between what was and what is now required. A Stoic knows that endings are not failures. They are thresholds. The death of one version of you creates space for a new form to emerge. The loss of a role, a title, a dream. It is not the destruction of your identity. It is the testing ground for your truth. The Stoic does not fear this passing. He prepares for it. He honors it. To be Stoic is to be ready to let go when it is time, to not grasp what is fading, but to walk forward into what is unfolding. He knows that clinging is not strength. Acceptance is. To endure a loss and remain virtuous, that is the triumph. To say farewell to comfort and still uphold discipline, that is power. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not think of things you do not possess as if they were yours, but count your blessings of the present and look forward to what is next." A Stoic life is a series of right nows, each honored, each surrendered. What is gone is not yours to mourn forever. What is coming is not yours to predict. What is here is yours to live. Look at one area in your life that is ending or must end: a habit, a relationship, a season. Instead of mourning it, ask, what is this making space for? What strength must I carry into what comes next? Let this be the frame. Not all endings are exits, some are entrances. Step through with grace,